Voices carry journeys from quiet homes to crowded streets. Worlds unfolding in a conversation, an educational podcast, a circle of minds learning from each other. Aphamazwi ethathibana khona aphivelaphi zethu zibalisa amabali indawo yokwabelana ngezimvo ngehlabathi. Asifaya podcast imikhali ikhuzulwa ngumahle sive ngicela umfo wasemamfeleni olisa ohlathi ojambase imfene zimabutho ahlutana ukuthola kwelanga. Asifaya podcast.
It's fine. Okay.
Okay. Ready? Whenever you're ready. We're on already. So it always appear on that 58 minutes seconds video. 58 seconds. You good? Now. Whenever you're ready. Okay, let's go for it. Putti, welcome to the show.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep. Everybody, welcome to the new episode. I'm your host, Sive Bahle. And today I'm not alone. I'm with the co-host, Speecho Makaveli. Speecho Makaveli, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sive. Thanks.
How are you feeling, my brother?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. It's been a great week. Yeah. Hopefully now you're feeling good.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah.
How was Eastern Cape?
It was nice, my brother. It was nice. It was nice. I went Makaya. Hey, man. It has been raining most heavily on that side. So the dam, fortunate enough, my village, there's a dam there. So that river is flowing from that dam. Yes, I would just listen to that sound of the river flowing, man, and appreciate and take that moment and be like, hey, Muna, in the city, we download these sounds. Upper, we're getting them raw. So, it was refreshing and fulfilling. Yeah, just appreciating in nature on its own. Yeah, otherwise everything went well.
Amazing. How often do you go to the villages, to places like the one you described?
Deep rural areas.
I'm from the rural area myself.
Is it?
Yeah. So I do go from time to time. I go. I think the last time I was there, maybe a month or two back. Yeah. But on our side, we don't have those rivers and stuff.
Waterfall.
We don't have the waterfall.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no.
What do you appreciate about it most?
It's the calmness and the people there. It brings you home. So that's the most thing I appreciate. The culture, the people there.
Yeah.
Very down to earth, man, and humble. And not like the cities, man. In the cities,
there's no love in the city.
There's no love in the city.
Yeah.
At home, man, you're gonna get help.
Yeah, I see. My brother, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate your presence here, and we also welcome you on the from wherever you're watching, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you for watching. Share this conversation if you find it meaningful to someone who might actually need it. Today we have a special guest, extraordinaire. Debza, please tell people who you are. I love the work that you do. It's one of those occupation that we don't have a privilege of, especially in places like the township is Lalini, or when you ask a random kids, what do you want to be when you grow up, they would barely say I want to be a physiotherapist. So you being here will actually cascade a lot of information to them. So I appreciate what you do, but you can tell people briefly about yourself.
Okay. I don't know what to say, but anyway, hello everyone, and thank you for hosting me. My name is Tebogo Rametsi. I am from Limpopo, a place called Matox. Others know it as Botokwa. It's between Polokwane and Louis Richard. There's a village there. That's where I'm from. Born and bred there. And then high school, I went to Settlers Agricultural High School. That's in Bela Bela. And then from there, I went to Sefako Makgato University, which is commonly known as Medunsa. That's where I did my physiotherapy studies. By profession, I'm a qualified physio. And then I'm also a businessman. I'm also a farmer as well. And then, I think, but above all, I'm just a cool guy and a cool human being, I think.
I get it.
So I think,
I think that's enough for us to start.
Yeah. So, wabula or
No, language rapa.
rapa.
Yeah, it's Stokwa. So Stokwa is a combination of, I don't know if you know Silovedu, you know Kilovedu.
Those are the dialects that they classified under in Tone.
Sepedi. So you have Sepedi, right? Northern Lesotho, that's the one that we study in matric, right?
Yeah.
But it has so many
dialects.
So Stokwa is a dialect of Sepedi, which is closely linked to Kilovedu.
Okay.
So if a Kilovedu person is next to me, I can actually have a conversation with someone like Kilovedu.
Okay.
So, but it's our language, it's called Sitokwa.
Okay. From which tribe?
It's the Pedi.
Pedi. Okay. Which is one of the conversation we'll have in the future regarding our languages and how they've been shrinked and limited into those 11 official languages.
Because it's the first time I actually hear this one.
Oh, there are a lot of dialects, my brother, within East Xhosa, like where I come from in the Eastern Cape. I always make that example of the kings. That's why we have a lot different kings in Eastern Cape, because not all of us are from that Xhosa kingdom. Yeah, but even with my brother here, my Mr. Ramitzi, Tokwa and Kilobedu, there are other dialects within Sepedi. So they just boxed everyone within Sepedi, but that's not the case. Yeah. So as our elders or constitution and things like this, these are the things that maybe we'll take up in the future, or because even the practices, there are a lot of similarities and differences, I'd like to believe, within that Sepedi group of people. Okay, but we are not talking about that today. Physiotherapy. So should we call you doctor?
I think it's only in South Africa that we don't have that title of doctor. But if you go other places, they call you actually doctor of physical therapy.
Okay.
But in South Africa, even the pay is not like a doctor's pay. So our title is still Mr. So it's fine.
Okay. And how long does it take to do a physiotherapy?
It's a 4-year course.
Okay. Okay.
But it can take 12 years, but it can actually, but it's 4 years. Remember, 4 years, it's the what do you call it?
Mainstream.
It's the mainstream. But, with challenges of life, you can take 1 year, 2 year, and all of that.
Okay.
But it's a 4-year degree.
Okay. For sure. I want to thank Sister Katli for organizing this.
Yes.
Sister Katli, you will notice we actually have a interview here on the podcast. So she's the one who organized this. She's like, your energy will actually match so well with this guy's energy. I'm like, tell me more about this guy. Tell me more. It's like he's a business person. He's a CEO of a certain company. He's a very sharp mind, And she didn't waste time, because I remember on the same day she organized our contact actually. Yes. So I want to say thank you so much, Sister Katli. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. About 60% of people watch the episode, but they haven't subscribed. And sometimes they just forget. Please do subscribe. I want us to talk about your upbringing. I wish we also talk more about business. And we also going to talk more about your profession. As for the purpose of educating other people out there. And as a podcast, we focus on mindset, money, and beliefs. I wish we touch around money as well.
Definitely.
You started making money at the university level. I wish we talk about all those, trials and errors you had right there. The new money syndromes, So I wish we talk about those three things. When we look back, checking out your upbringing, what are some of the things that actually stood out for you as a child, which maybe you might say they contributed so much to the person that you are today?
Oh, so basically, man, I come from a very supportive family, right? And then we are known to be entrepreneurial. If you don't know, we are part of the Lemba tribe, Rebashari. So it's the black Jews of, Southern Africa. So I'm a black Jew, actually.
Mushabi.
Mushavi, yes, it's a tribe called
That's
Bashavi.
interesting.
Yeah, it's the first time I hear of it. Yeah.
If you check our history, quite a lot of prominent figures, Bashavi. I mean, Ramaphosa is Mushavi, Julius Malema is a Mushavi. There's quite a lot. It's actually, I think, it's a lot of them. There's maybe one day we should just do a podcast about them, but then I can speak freely about it. But yeah, so I grew up in a family where there's a lot of support, and my grandfather used to own, I think he had a shop back in the days. I think he was an old store, those
Lucky Seven stores.
yeah, Lucky Seven, that has everything. It's a hardware, it's in everything.
Yeah.
So I think the entrepreneurial spirit came from that. And then also my father he's still a businessman today, runs a taxi business. So growing up in such a family, I don't remember saying something and then they say it's impossible. So I think I've always, whatever I've always wanted to do and to achieve, it was always possible. And I don't remember,
You grew up in abundance, actually.
I would say that. And not only abundance, but with the mindset that things are possible. You actually can do it. It's different when you grow up in a family or in an abundance and they just hand out things to you.
Okay.
We were never handed out things like you want a McDonald's, they buy you a McDonald's. It's you have to work for it. You have to know how to work for it. And actually the inspiration, I wish you guys can just come to my village one day and you will see a lot of successful people coming from our hood. And then they run these amazing businesses. And then I think that's where the inspiration came from. And I also think my grandmother played a very huge role in my upbringing because I was one of the favorites. You know when you're the favorite. So, and she would always tell me whatever you want in life, it's possible. And in fact, you will do it better than anyone. So
they had the belief in you.
They believe in you. So she gave me a little bit of the grandiose, because even when I walk, I'm like, I'm pretty. She'll tell me, that you're handsome. You're more handsome than all of
this. Is the grandma.
This is the grandmother. So she instilled the confidence in me. So in whatever I do, I didn't like, that if you say I want to prove anything. No, I know that. Okay,
you have it in you.
I have it in me. So that was just that. But growing up, I think I was also a very inquisitive child. I always wanted to know a lot more about things. What's this? At home, I remember my mother had an encyclopedia. Those books.
Yeah, the book, that huge Bible book.
And it's A to Z actually. It's actually, I think maybe that's how Google went, because it's A, and then it has everything that starts with A, pictures and everything. I would look at those encyclopedia, I would read them and stuff like that. So that also gave me,
the curiosity.
Because I always question things. I'm like, okay, maybe that's why I chose the science stream, because of I wanted to experiment more onto, okay, how do you do this? So I think those are the things that when looking back,
So during
I just want to cut this part and put the phone on flight mode.
Okay.
So that we don't have calls. I forgot to do that.
All right.
Yeah, you were saying something.
Where were we?
Okay, let me take it right here.
Yeah, take it.
What are some of the things that outside validating you that you see during that time that maybe like they are quite foreign into whatever that was happening in the family? Are you growing up knowing exactly that you're gonna be this person that you are today? Or maybe there are some doubts and all that?
Actually, I I grew up with an appointment with success. I don't know, for some reason. Yeah, I grew up knowing that uh, uh, part of one of my biggest dreams when I was growing up, I wanted to be the Minister of Public International Relations. So that's how far I've always dreamt to say.
Yeah.
Blue lights, I've always been fascinated with blue lights.
Mm.
Yeah, those that went to high school with me will tell you that he was so fascinated about blue lights. You know? Yeah, so I think for me, I've always grew up with this mentality that, I'm going to be a blue light candidate. I'm going to be maybe a speaker of the parliament or something like that. At some point, I used to love politics to a point where I was seeing myself as, member of parliament and stuff. And then, life, and then, you just deviate and stuff. Yeah.
It's still ambition at its best, eh?
Yeah. So you always knew that success, you are destined for success. It's just a matter of time, actually.
Yeah. I think you can say that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during school holidays and weekends, did you have like playtime and running around, or had nothing to do since you grew up in the family? Or you were those?
Musk.
You were those on the weekend. You were behind the till, or
no. So, I was a very energetic child. I'm still an energetic person even.
Yeah.
So if I have free time, I'd walk around the hood, play around with other kids,
your peers,
and my peers, and just I still love life. You understand? So it's that thing, Uguti, man. We're done with schoolwork. Let's just go see some tournament somewhere. Let's go. Growing up with my other friends. As kids, we're like, let's go see some girls somewhere, You know how it is when you're growing up with no, let's go to a different village and let's just go see the girls. Exactly. So those are the things that, so I've always been in the streets. I think my mom and I fought a lot because she would ask me, what are you doing in the streets? Like, can't you just sit at home and just play at home? And I think maybe she was overprotective. But I would always want to be outside. I've always wanted to be outside.
All right. Okay. So
go for it. We are curious. I put a information.
Yeah. The one thing I like about, as you have said earlier on, physiotherapy and things like that, there's this stereotype, yeah. So having a black person in front of us, and someone from Silobedu or Louis Trichardt or Buchabelo, watching, be like, okay, this is quite interesting, because again, what we're trying to do here is information. We're about sharing information. And in this day and age, information is everywhere. Everyone has a smartphone. If you have that money to get that data for YouTube and things like that. So I think we should share as much information as possible. So physiotherapist, what's the difference between a physiotherapist and that person go spa who's doing you as a back massage and things like that?
Okay.
Because
Right. So there's quite a distinction between a physio, a masseuse, and other people call them chiropractors. Yeah. So what a physio is, right? When you do a 4-year degree, with a 4-year degree, you are able to diagnose, you are able to manage, and you're able to treat a condition, which is what a doctor does. When you get to the doctor, you tell them the symptoms. I have flu. They ask you, did you vomit and stuff like that? Then right there, he can write a diagnosis to say you have fever, you have an infection of some sort, and manage the condition with medication. Same thing with physio. We study the anatomy, the physiology of a human body. So hence we are movement specialist, doctor of physical therapy.
Okay.
So anything that has to do with movement. So you come to me, I have a backache. I'm able to do some tests to check the root cause of your backache, tell you exactly which level of your spine is the problem coming from. Unlike just saying, oh, you have a back pain. Okay, I'll just massage it. But I'll do my test to say, okay, it's actually L4 or L5 or T5 that is actually the problem, arising from a trigger point, arising from something else. Then I'm able to manage and say, no, I'm going to do my treatment. I'm sorry if I use big words, but I'm going to do my treatment, my facial release, And after the myofascial release, I'll do trigger point release, strapping, give you a bit of an exercise program, and then do a follow-up session with you. And obviously advise you on ergonomics, how you should sit, how you should, exercise. So I think that's the
difference between
because when you go to a masseuse, they just massage you for leisure, then you leave. And then when it comes to us, there's an element of education. There's an element of trying to find out the root cause,
source,
what is really causing this back pain of yours,
and exactly where it is. Okay. L4 and T4 is the bones, the spinal cord bones. They are numbered. I'm not sure about the quantity, how many are they, but he knows them better. I saw you got lost there, CV.
Hey, about A4, not T-bone, T-bone.
Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay,
yes.
all right. Yeah.
I think we're gonna go back and forth with this conversation because I still wanna go back there on how we grow up, the environment that is growing up in, right? So I don't think it's easy for many families to sort of induce the habit of maybe the family into the new generation or rising generation. I'll make an example of this. If maybe you grow up in a place where they have managed to get their wealth right, and now as kids you are growing in that environment, you see kids growing in that wealth and they make it dissipate. They sort of kick it away in many ways. They spend the money, they do all those things. They become people that don't show that image of I grew up in a wealthy family. And I don't know if you know, but there are examples where umfana ukhulula amateksini ne kibo, and it happens ukuthi the owner of the taxi uyashona, and now they sell all those taxis. But what I see with you, you still have the same mentality or sort of attitude that you grew up in. You still want to build. I mean, you're a business person. You have your own farm. Where do you think maybe your family got it right?
I think
with you as the generation,
with our generation, I think it all went back to how we grew up and the education. I think that's where they got it right, education. Because if you look at all my grandmother's kids, all of them went to school. And I remember my father used to tell me that I did not build this business to give you guys an easy life. I built this business so that you guys can go to school. And anything you want to study, whether you want to do, piloting, whatever it is, I will pay for the education. And also even the upbringing. In as much as we grew up in the business of taxis and stuff like that, it was also, my dad always instilled this in us to say, these things are just taxis, right? At any given time they can go. Right? At any given time they can go.
Who's saying this?
It's my father.
Yeah.
He instilled that in all of us. If you go to my hood, we don't go around. You know how people go around
showing off.
Yeah. We really, because even him, he doesn't even show off or anything like that. He still drives the taxi still today. He drives them himself. You understand? So it's those principles that we grew up. It's only the outside noise that you hear. You don't have to work hard. But when you get home, that is noise. That noise is out. And you get home, and then he wakes you up and say, "Go clean this taxi." At 3 a.m. he wakes you up. This taxi.
There's a trip. Yeah,
there's a trip that's coming. Go clean it. I remember my cousin. I think he came for the holidays at our house. It was winter. My father came back from a trip. I think around 11:30 or 12
at night.
That guy, the way he walks, he has a presence. You could feel him from the passage. You could think he's coming to my room. You understand? Because I'm used to him. Like, he's definitely coming to my room. He knocks once, my door, go, and already I'm like, "Hey, Papa." It's like, "Mren, I have another trip coming, car 7. It's a church people. They need to go somewhere, but I need my taxi clean car 7 o'clock." So you have an option. If you clean it 5 minutes to 7, or you clean it now. But Naga 7, I want my car clean. It's cold. It's winter. I wake up my cousin. I'm like, "Hey, cousin, we have to go clean It's like, I'm gonna clean.
This
What
time.
do you mean clean? And my friend's like, so the car wash is closed. Who's supposed to clean it?
And there's business that we need to attend to
Hey,
tomorrow.
but I'm used to it. So my
Yeah.
cousin wants to go and boil water, and I'm like, no, man, there's no need to boil water, man. Ugh, this thing does it.
yeah,
You get
splash
there.
it with the water, the
And
hose
splash it
pipe
with-
and soap.
then
yeah.
another thing, I think a significant thing that happened is that he found money in the taxi as we were cleaning. I think 50 rand or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he was hip. I'm like, yeah, my guy, these are some of the things that I
A
look
packs
up to.
of coming
just
of
that.
doing this
Sometimes you find
job.
a cold
Yeah.
drink and all of those things.
Yeah.
So I think that was that. So, I would say those that know him, he's a military style, kind of person. Yeah, he talks to
hear
you, gives you an
You
instruction,
have it.
you
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
That's it. You understand? So I think also the upbringing from them. I think also maybe from, because I've never met my grandfather. I've never, by the time I was born, he was already dead.
Late.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know the upbringing, but I think to answer your question, I think it's the principles and the education to say that you need to go to school, you need to, some discipline. has to be
Whatever
there.
you are doing, foundation should be education.
Foundation
because
should be
yeah,
education, yeah.
I want to go right there as well. I mean, it's easy for, like, when you're teaching a kid for them to sort of be rebellious to that and take it as a punishment. Ukuthi, I learning punishwa. Other kids are sleeping, maybe next door, your friends. Because that's what I actually realized with me.
Mhm.
Because at home we had livestock,
Hmm.
but I would envy the life of the kids that didn't have livestock.
Yes.
Because they seem like to have the easiest. What was your mental interpretation of the whole situation? Like, as a child, kutwa, you like, they wake you up at that time and say, go and wash. How do you interpret this? What are some of the things that are going on in your mind?
Oh, okay. So I think one of the other thing that he got it right, my dad, is that he's a reward and punishment kind of person.
I love that.
You understand? So he makes it so cool for you to go and watch the taxi. You understand? And yes, there were days where I felt bad. I'm like, no, man, I shouldn't be watching.
this
how
is
it
unfair.
It's unfair. I'm not even getting paid. So, but what he did, right? He would always give you money for any work that you do, no matter how small it is. So obviously, you would watch 5 taxis. He gives you 10 rand of. You understand?
Yeah.
Mara, it's this. The thing, Uguchi, he instilled these principles. You have to work for your
Yeah.
things. So there's no easy man. So that even a taxi, even if it doesn't say wash it, but you know that if you wash it, you can give me some money. So let me just go and just wash it. Then he
There will
give
be
me-
reward
there will
at the
be-
end of.
Yeah, but it was not all the time that he would give you the money.
Mm.
You understand? So yes, there are some days where you feel like, no man, I'm being punished, because sometimes, as much as people outside they will be envying you, sometimes it's not nice, because if there's a breakdown, for example, a taxi breaks down maybe around 10 o'clock. Guess who has to wake up?
Sure. It's you.
It's me.
to
And
go
he
and
takes me
give
along. He's
assistance.
like, let's go. I want
yeah.
to show you how the business is.
Mm.
And when you get there,
The-
you don't just sit there and then. No, I knew how to change a tire by the age of 10. Actually, I started driving by the age of 10. You understand? So he gets there and then there's a puncture, you have to change the tire. You understand? So you change the tire, he looks at you, you change the tire. Obviously, when you're under the car, you feel like, no, man, this is a punishment and stuff like that. But he's actually teaching you how life works. So those were the things. So it was a bit of a hardship and also an enjoyment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So one of the disadvantages of someone with that sort of an upbringing, because I think we have a similar upbringing, is delegation. How do you find delegation? I'm struggling with that. I find it difficult to delegate tasks to someone else because I'm so used to doing things myself.
In what context?
Like
In a business manner,
yeah,
in a like
in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm now trying to.
You're a perfectionist, kahle.
If that's the definition of a perfectionist, then I think I am, because I find it hard to delegate. Even if I've delegated some work or thing to do to someone else,
You still
I'll
wanna
always
monitor
check. Yeah, do you need assistance to do this? So on your side,
Of
especially.
course, yes, it's a challenge as well. But you learn. You learn to trust the people.
Okay.
Because before you delegate, you must have, or people must be willing to follow your instructions.
Instruction,
right?
yeah.
So you must have this leadership or this inspiration that they look up to you. That
Okay.
wherever that you delegate is right. You're leading us to
To the right
the
direction.
right direction. It's like a
Okay.
pastor sitting in front of a
Yeah.
congregation. You know, when he says, "Let's open Isaiah 15 or something," people look up to the pastor because of, you know, he has some sort of
Insight or
insight.
foresight to
You
okay,
understand. So
okay.
you have to have or hold that kind of inspiration. Then the delegation becomes easy. The difficult part is you trusting the person to do the job. Because of now you want them to do the job. You have a certain way of you doing it. So how I do it or how we do it in the business, I'll show you first. For example, the physio that I work with, I say, no, come, let me see how I treat a patient. I treat a patient like this. And then I leave you out to figure it out. And then I don't want to come back there and knock him there. No. You saw me doing it once, and then it means that you can also do it. It's the trust that you give. It's okay. Just allow them to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And getting to where this thing of business, you are now like overtaking it for yourself. Where do you start? I get it. That time you were managing the taxis from home, maybe the breakdowns and all that. When do you now starting to assume this business role into yourself? Where does it start and when does it start?
So I grew up. Primary, I was at home, primary, right?
Yeah.
Then came high school, I went to boarding school. Yeah.
You went to boarding school?
Yeah, I went to boarding school.
Oh, crazy.
Now that's a different
ball game altogether.
It's a different ball game altogether.
Yeah.
Now remember, you are in your small village, you are the spotlight child, do you understand? Now you come to the boarding school and nobody
one
cares
knows
about you, nobody knows you. You understand? And I think one of the other things that was distinguishing about me is that I was always a smart child. You understand? Top one, number one. Even in high school, I've been the top 5. You know, I'll get awards. Those that went to high school with me will tell you that at some point I'd be the only boy in the top 10. Yes. At some point in my high school. So now, the doubt part that you spoke about earlier, it hit me when I come to high school. Boarding school. Get to boarding school. It's called Settlers Agricultural High School. It's a very good school, but now I hear that it's no longer that good. When I get there, you know, man, I meet people from Sandton, you know, people from all these, you know, luxurious places. And Tina, I went to the village school, my brother. You understand? I went to my primary school, you understand? And when you get there, first day, tell us about yourself. No, man, my name is Tabucho. I'm from Matox. I'm from Botokwa. We do my primary school. Okay. And someone says, yeah, no, my name is this and this. I went to Prestige. Okay. And then, who's these people? Okay, now the self-doubt starts to come and say, hey, here we met, you know.
Yeah.
Because I remember, you know, we went to school with, you know, ministers' kids, prominent business people, you know. Yeah.
Really?
From different provinces.
I know. Mashadi, sorry for this, but yeah, you know. She knows Mashadi, she knows. Yeah. Father was Putimana. He's currently the Minister of Higher Education. Yeah, she's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
You understand?
That's one thing I like about these prestigious schools, networking. Some people would tell you, I'm taking my kids to the best schools just for networks. Because you can imagine now, if there's a school event, a sport or a concert or any extramural activity, and then the parents are being called there. Next thing, you're sitting next to Mr. Puti Manamela, Minister Puti Manamela. What's the talk gonna be like?
I hear you.
Yeah. So
sorry. And my friend, he's still my friend today, Kennedy Chivas. His father is a king in Venda. He's a prince, actually.
Yeah, my man.
My guy, you understand?
And when you got into the classroom, you whip his ass.
You understand? Whip his ass in the class. I know, even now he knows that he can whip his ass.
Yeah. When it comes to Max, with all due respect, Prince.
Of course, yes. So you are in the midst of this, right?
Oh, that's fascinating, bro.
It's fascinating. Yeah. Now you start to self-doubt yourself. You're like, I'm a small fish. You understand? But also with all of these people, what I've learned about them, it's funny how if if you think being a prince is all about showing off, you know that Kennedy hid that thing that he's a prince from me. I only found out after matric that him and hey chief, you all this time, my guy, the signs were there, but we did not see the signs, man. You understand? So
I don't know if you're a movie person. Have you watched Coming Back to America by Eddie Murphy?
I know I haven't.
I think you're
watched
gonna love it. Yeah.
There's Coming Back 2 as well, eh?
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I only know one.
Yeah, they're promoting it and things. Okay, what's the on the movie?
On the movie, like this guy just hid from everyone that he was a king. So he went back to America because he wanted ordinary treatment.
Yes.
He didn't want this thing of
People bowing down to him.
Yeah. So like that's why I remember that. But okay, it creates this uncomfort now that you're no longer the only spotlight. How do you deal with it?
Fine. So let me tell you what happened, right? So obviously, when you come from the villages that people have, like you've never had my village anyway.
Yeah.
So people, they don't come from villages. No, they start mocking you and they start making jokes.
You're a village boy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's fine. Fine. You know, even in the Englishmen, those guys,
The accent.
they were twanging.
Yeah.
I know they speak that twanging English. Fine. To be honest, I just wrote I remember term 1, I just wrote my normal test like a normal person. And then obviously the confidence was a little bit down.
Yeah.
Comes the day of the top 10. You know, when they announced the top 10.
Yeah.
Oh my guy.
Term 1 report.
Yeah. You know, that was the last thing in my mind. We could say I'm gonna be in the top 10 or anything like it was like a surprise to me when sharp. I'm expecting, the boys from
Sente. Yeah, from Cape Town.
Those ones that speak proper English are gonna be in the top 10. How they announced the top 10, number 1, number 2. I think I was number 3. They mentioned my name. Like,
yeah.
Me? What? You gotta be kidding me, man.
Yeah.
Me? I wanted to find out, I think it was 3 or 4 boys.
That's amazing.
You understand? I'm like, okay, done. Now when I go back to hostel.
Yeah. Who's the boss?
At hostel, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
The many teen in a boy.
Yeah.
And then now that spotlight that you grew up in starts to come back
again.
Oh, you understand?
Yeah.
Now you're like, okay, actually, it's like he's in the top 10. Now you start to like, okay,
your confidence again.
Your confidence starts to boost and now they start coming to you asking you for help.
Yeah.
They say, how do you see this? I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm back to my default settings now. And then I think had it not been that I was in the top 10, maybe it would have crushed me. Because to be honest, there was an overwhelming experience to be
adapting. And all.
For the first time I saw a Porsche in that school.
Yes. Bro, you see at this moment, I'm just like crazily fascinated.
Yeah, you see. So fine, coming back to the business, fine. Now that you have this spotlight, now everybody knows you because of, come on, you have a few people. I think I'm not sure, but I think I was the only one in boarding in the
hostel. Yeah.
My grade, if I remember. Yeah, it was the 3 guys. It was me, Specs, and Tato, and 2 they were day scholars. I was the only one who was staying in hostel. Now when you come back, now who made from, they're like, yeah, he's our boy, and then now you start to get this little bit of recognition. And obviously, growing up in the boarding school, there's that bullying.
Yeah, that culture, initiation and whatnot.
Now, it's a different thing when they have to bully
the smart one. Yeah.
They bully you, but they don't bully you.
You've got
like
some leverage.
What if I fail?
Exactly.
It's that thing. Obviously, we went through the whole initiation, but it's a different thing when you're a bit smart.
The treatment is a bit not that harsh. Yeah.
So that was then. And from there, the old me starts to come back.
You found your feet now.
I found my feet. I'm comfortable. Now I'm relevant now. And I think, yes, he's my mentor. He was the president of the school. I was in grade 8.
SRC president.
Okay. And I looked at him like, I want to be the SRC president one day in my life. So from there, him and I started to engage. Started to learn, okay, no, man. So, he was not the smart of the smartest, but he was good with people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And another thing, my life science teacher, I owe that guy, I don't know what I owe him, Mr. Nyamayaro. Oh, man, he played a huge role as well.
What role?
Now, he comes to me and say, listen, my boy, you are smart, but you're not that smart. And it's like you're smart, but you're not that smart. Yeah, life is not gonna go like the way you think it's gonna.
It's not always black and white.
It's not always
There's
black and white.
green areas.
There's gray areas.
Gray areas, brother.
And it's
Yeah.
like, it was me and Paul Magucha. Yeah. So it's like, I want you guys to be my project. Right? Now, he doesn't give us the nice treatment. He gives us the harshest treatment. He gives us a normal homework like everybody, but he says, you're going to do an extra one.
How
Understand?
did that
Set the
opinion
bar
land?
higher on you
Yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
How did that opinion land, bro?
yeah, but it crushed me, man. No, it crushed me.
When he said you,
Yeah, when he said that, you're not that smart, boy. Yeah, you're not that smart.
But was he saying that I don't think it was coming from a bad place.
Yes, it was not coming from a bad place.
But he was trying to unleash more potential in you.
Because of the way you said to me is like, listen, man, I understand that, you love the books and stuff like that. Because, at some point, rather, they would classify me as a nerd. Because I'd read a lot. I loved reading. It's like, life is not all about reading. You still have to find a balance between reading, partying, and all that. And he used to say, Lord, he was not how can I put it? He was not a formal guy, like to say.
Oh, he was more casual.
Yeah, he's casual and he says like
more
F-word.
accessible.
Yeah, that thing,
relatable.
Cool
teacher. It was
teachers.
that
He was
cool
a
teacher. Yeah.
And he says, he calls a spade a spade.
Okay.
You understand? It's like, no, man, you don't want to chow girls with this kind of life, man. You need to wear, those kind of
casual.
Cool, and then I said, okay. And then also his wife was also my maths teacher.
Okay.
You understand? And I struggled. Maths was not my favorite, my strong point. I was always good with theory and everything. So I'll get a 90, but on math, I'll get like a 50 and stuff. So Mrs. Nyams was always like, but there's something that is missing here. Then obviously now Nyam says, no, but this guy got 90 in my class, but you get 15 in my class. But why can't you get 90 in then that's where they started to, in a way, take me as
their child
and
mentor you and guide you.
And then, because I remember I didn't go to my matric dance because it was close to the trials. And Mr. Nyamara said, you're not going there. He said, no, you're not going to go there. You're not going to go there because of, he was a scientist like, no, 3-4 weeks before the trials, if your brain gets a new experience, he was the scientist of, like, no, that is going to change your focus. So you're not going to go there. That time, I'm the president of the school.
Oh, you end up becoming a president. My man.
During the trip.
Oh, loved it, that part, yeah. So now imagine the president is not at your matric dance. What does that say?
You end up didn't go. Like, you end up not going.
No, I didn't go. But also, now, they came in a political unleash of me. As I'm grade 8, grade 9, I started to be politically active now. Now, I'm the one who plans strikes. We are those rebellious.
Kumbaya.
But smart. Rebellious, but smart. You understand? So, it was a very different era to be in because of now. I think I took it too far, man. I think looking back now, but it's not taking too far per se, but it's because of you were trying to revolutionize whatever it is. Because of
changes that had to be done.
Yeah, you are robust. I remember telling some teachers who tie, fuck you, and I'm sorry. So, but now when I look back, I'm like, maybe I should have. But again, there's no art in war. If you are fighting, you're fighting.
Yeah, fighting.
Yeah. So, like I said, at some point, I wanted to study political science because of David.
You do have their voice and communication spirit.
So those were the things. But it was.
Wait, bro. I want the specifics on that. He tells you like you're not as smart as you think, right? And then he takes you down. Does he give you mentorship to show you more layers of smartness?
Yes.
And what end up becoming the results then?
Okay.
From the moment he started to maybe when you guys are journeying your journey.
So, Mpoma Vucha, one of his prototype, I think he won the Science Expo, Excom Science Expo, I forgot which year. So he also took me through that, and we also went to a Science Expo, and we actually made it. but something happened.
Yeah, that's a story for another
Story
day.
for another day.
Yeah.
Yo, my friend will kill me for this because if it wasn't for me, we would have been. Yeah, but we're still tunyana there.
Let us stand.
And and those science expo, especially ESCOM science, those science expo in Sasol, and those were a huge deal back then, especially in the engineering and science field, ne? Because of the experience and whatnot.
They don't exist anymore.
I think they still are, but they're
They still,
it's badala, we're not focusing much on those things, but we've moved on. But you'd go sent in for a week or two, or Cape Town or Durban, ICC and whatnot, to invent maybe maybe your project. I don't know what was
Did you
your
go with
project. I knew that I'm clued up on these things. So maybe designing a vehicle that uses solar back then. And then you would present that and things like that. Competition of some sort.
I went to a different school. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. But let me ask you this question: How did you find yourself in there? Maybe for someone that wants, maybe they wanna go if they still exist. Did you apply? Was it based on your performance? What was it based on? And how would an ordinary child get themselves there?
Okay, so on my side as well, as much as it was our school was exposed to Science Expo, it was actually one of the difficult journeys for me, right? Because now, remember, you're a rebellious child. You are this comrade who tells teachers, man, now you want to do the Science Expo. So the amount of, it's not hatred, but they dislike you. So whatever that you do, they don't really support you to actually do it. You understand? So
because of the other cap that you are wearing.
Now you have another cap, right? So it's not an easy journey where they will support you and say no. I remember at some point we fought with the principal because if he did not want to give us the school card to go to a Science Expo competition, and Mr. Mavia, thank you for that, he took me with his car to the Science Expo.
So principal just sabotaged you guys.
So I had two families that were really fond of me, the Mabias and the Nyamayaros. Mr. and Mrs. Mabia, those ones still today. Yeah, I know they loved me. They still love me. Even the Nyamayaros, they love me, right? So now if you have these two people supporting you,
you're good to go.
I'm good to go. Everybody else, they did support, but of course, because of the cap that I was wearing, you can't be for the students. And then also you're also for the teachers. It can't be. I was always fighting for my students, unfortunately. And I took it to the,
to the edge.
To the edge. You understand? Yeah. So, but for someone who's out there who wants to maybe go for a Science Expo, Google, I think ESCOM Science Expo.
Yeah, they still exist, and even Sasol.
And Sasol and others. So what you do, you probably just have an idea, right? You present your idea to your science teacher. Then they make it in a scientific format to say,
put that idea into life.
And then through your teacher, then they'll assist you and you go for regional competitions. And then ESCOM Science Expo had these, I'd call them moderators, that will come to these schools. Identify those
bright sparks.
And then if they pick you up, then you go compete at a regional level. From regional level, provincial, you go national. It's like sort of like athletics.
I hear you.
Yeah. So for someone who's out there who wants to maybe take a thing on Science Expo and stuff, I think nowadays they should be more.
They are there actually.
Yeah,
they
so
are there.
They should just go for it, and then no one should be in your way to stop you from doing those extramural activities.
Sounds amazing, actually. Yeah.
Any one thing I've learned about school and the field, the fields that are there: commerce, agriculture, science, maths, engineering.
Commerce, by the way.
There's opportunities everywhere. As much as the same explanation you explained now with this Science Expo and thing, there's also one in languages where you debate
spelling
bee, you see, in language. In maths again, there's maths what exactly. With sport as well, athletics, they start at school level and then those schools around you guys. So there's enough for everyone. What I'm trying to say, there's enough for everyone. So if you are good in languages, there's a path for you that you need to explore and go forward with it in science, in agriculture, and everything. But you just need the family that will support you, whether at school or back at home again. You see, yeah. So we do need to associate ourselves with those people that have the common interest. Yabo. And one of the things that you must also do it's motivating when you have someone who has your back, and when you are doing great, they cheer you up. So that thing lifts your morale, and you end up moving forward. Yeah, smoothly. So even though the road might be challenging. Yeah. And then why did you decide to study physiotherapy?
Okay, fine. I am in grade 11, right? It's time to apply for university. I applied at UP for political science. But for some odd reason, I thought, my father will never allow me to study political science. Yeah, I just had that doubt. They accepted me, but I never went. My uncle is a physio. So I'm like, okay. So I spent, I think, the December week holidays with him, and he showed me how physio is. Okay, it's cool. Everyone else in high school thought I am going to do politics. I was so sure of politics, right? Second application, I apply for medicine. I apply for physiotherapy as a second option, I think. Mm-hmm. My sister was shocked. She's like, well, since when do you want to be a doctor? And I'm like, by the way, I did CAT.
That's a computer.
I changed CAT in matric. I'm like, no. Let me do business studies because of a friend. Like, I was a very stout and good child. So my friend and Isaacs, Ritzavile hostel on the weekend. And then we went to, group. And then he was writing on Monday. So when we come back, he's like to me, "You gotta have to help me study."
Yeah, because we were together on this
day. Because what happened is that that was a funny story. What happened is that my dad was having a trip somewhere in Pretoria, right? And I lied to him. I said, "No, we're going to Bela for a school trip." So, because I know that he said we're gonna meet in Bela, so he was gonna give me money so that me and Zix can take a taxi to the school. He never comes to Belleville. I don't know what happened. That time, me and Zix already ranked that money. We don't have any other money left. So now I can't tell him to say, but we don't have money. Because he says to me, since you're on a school trip, you will go back with the
school bus.
With the school bus. Now we have a problem now. Yeah, it's me and Zix. Do you know we walked 23 kilometers on a Sunday?
Going back to hostel.
And guess what? Mr. Mavia finds us on the way.
Again, he comes to the rescue.
No, he didn't even rescue us. Mr. Mavia was what's this cross country? I used to run. That's how I read cross country, right? So Mr. Mavia is a coach of cross country, right? My brother, where is this? There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, plain sight.
We're hiding like this, and we see that
embarrassed.
And he sees us, he passes us, he keeps quiet. And then he gets to the school, he tells the matrons what to know.
That one is fit, that one. You must go to join the team.
You understand? Now, when we're on our way, the whole school knows that we're coming back from they're expecting us, you understand? But now,
you gathered the crowd, right? Yes. Walk of shame.
You understand? It's a matter of time. On Sundays, we used to have supper early. So they even reserve supper for us. Like, no, I saw those two boys, man. They're happy.
So, okay, there's a grand entrance for you guys.
When we got there, everybody's like, "No, show man." Yeah. And it's like, "No, I'm not going to punish you guys. Tomorrow, cross country. Again. That's how I started running. Yeah, and it was funny then because it was a walk. It was fun. And here's this guy, man. They went to Bela Villa, now they don't have money to come back. And that school, man, it was around a farm town. So I'm a boon, man. They don't give you a lift, my guy.
Yeah,
coming with those big
4x4s.
When even they see they go on the side of the road. Yeah. So we walked. 23 kilometers we walked.
And you got there, you were dusty, your feet swollen.
And now Zach says to me, "Hey, don't forget, tomorrow I'm writing business studies." And I am the smart one. So you must help me study. So I help him study, and I figure out my listing is simple, man. I'm like to Mr. Shaba. Mr. Shaba was my business study. I'm like, I want to write this test as well. She's like, okay. Are you sure? I'm like, I'm sure. Guess what? I get the 90 or something. I'm like,
That
oh.
was not part of your subject.
It was not part of my subject.
Yeah.
At all. I'm like,
That's dope.
I'm switching
I am
courses.
That time, me and Miss Tridu was my caddy.
Teacher.
She's looking up to me to actually at least get a
Eh,
distinction.
yeah.
But me and her, we don't see eye to eye. I'm like, get fun.
Yeah.
Sure.
Me, I'm going to Mr. Shah. It was a shock as well. Even my classmates are like, hey, man, why? What's happening with you? I'm like,
This is exam time, grade 11.
This is grade.
Grade 12 preliminary exams.
No. When did the switch? It's grade 12. I don't know that when you close, but it's the early. It's still early. It's still term 1.
Oh, okay.
Because I can remember
yeah.
I think term 1 so
To change.
before they
yeah.
register your subject with NCS. It was
yeah,
that
yeah,
time before they
yeah,
register your subject.
Yeah.
And then now they have to go register the subject. Me, I'm like, I'm changing.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I know I'm changing. I'm going to do business studies. And I'm like, you've never done. I'm like, I'm going to do it. The law says I can change it. So why can't I change it?
The door is still open.
The door is still open. I changed business studies. Now I'm no longer going to
In computer applications technology.
I know me. I'm going to business studies, and I actually became. I was one of the award holders of business studies that year.
Sure.
And so
Actually did business studies.
yeah, so it was very fascinating, man. So yeah, but I think some things when you look back, you're like, things happen for a reason, man.
Yeah.
And how do you then join into getting into physiotherapy?
Okay, remember when you're applying, you're just applying for everything. Yeah. So one of my applications, I applied for physio. My first option was doctor. Pharmacy. Was it pharmacy? I think it was pharmacy, yeah. Pharmacy, then second option was physio.
So I take it like growing up, they have that thing, I want to be a doctor. You didn't have those, right? Because it seems like you picked up randomly based on your potential.
Even my sister was so shocked when I said I'm going to medical school. Like, medical school, kanjani, man. Yeah.
But since you had an uncle who's a physio, I think again that also helped. Because some people don't even know there's a course that you can do. Physio. Yeah.
And
so
also
again,
another one, at the Science Expo, I met my amazing friend called Palesa. Palesa was a pharmacist. So she also sparked that thing to say, no, pharmacy. So I'm like, I want to be, because she had won the Expo for that. She came there as one of the people that won the Expo.
Oh, as a previous winner to motivate
we meet there and start having a
conversation.
So I did pharmacy. Then that's where I'm like, okay, it's like, what are you gonna study next year? Politics, like, but also look at pharmacy. You're smart. The other thing is that when you are smart, you have other options.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's like, no, but why don't you try pharmacy as well? Pharmacy, then also my uncle, I'm like, okay, physio, medicine.
Same field.
Then I'm saying, okay, at least in the medical field, I have registered myself. Now let's go to the political science. Let's go somewhere. And so,
I see. And when you get to university, when does the business start? Because it seems like in high school, there was no business.
There was a small business of selling stock suites. Those were just...
but petty cash.
It was petty cash, but it was still business.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of learning that comes.
There's a lot of learning with that comes with that. So, grade 11, grade 12, we started grade 10 actually. We started selling stock suites. So, those that went to our school will tell you, out of everyone that comes from that school, man, they seem to be entrepreneurial. There's something about that school. So, there was this guy back in high school. His name was McMahon. So McMahon gives us pockets of suits, says sell, and you must give him the money. You understand? So
he's a supplier.
This student was a teacher.
He was a student. That one, he was a serious entrepreneur. That guy was a serious guy. When he would come, see you guys lined up, take you guys pictures, and he says 10 rand,
and sell you those photos.
I want maybe 150 from you because it's 15 of you guys. Yeah, that's how he used to. Yeah, that guy was, he was a mover, that one. You understand? So he gives me a pack of sweets, me and my friends give us a pack of sweets and say, after 2-3 weeks, I want, was it 100 rand or something? They were 48 years. 48
yeah, inside,
it's that. 100 or something. It's like, I want 100 rand from there. Hey, now you have to go sell sweets. 2 rand to people. Obviously, it's bullying, my guy, but those were the lessons that we needed in life.
Yeah.
You understand? Now, we are in matric now. Nobody can bully us. We are the ones who give the small boys, hey, go and sell these things for me. So it's a money-making
A scheme.
Scheme.
Something.
Fine. Obviously, it's petty cash. Now, I get to varsity. Now, when I get to varsity, man, also it was when I get to varsity, I get to medical students, man. A lot of them, they're just, those smart kids, quiet,
Nerds,
and stuff like that.
Discipline.
Then there is me. I come from this, leadership, robust, kind
political
of
background.
Because I was a COSA's deputy chair. Because my chair was Zwelak, another friend of mine called Zwelak. So now we're bringing COSAs to a white predominant school. They don't understand what it means.
There's a lot they don't understand about us. Even our tone, the way we speak and things like that. Why are you shouting? Why are you like that? Hey, man, this is who we are.
Because at high school, like the amount of influence and the amount of power I'd say
you had,
it was amazing, man. So now when I get to varsity, I'm like, I want the same kind of power as well. I joined SASCO. But my physiotherapy lectures, I remember Dr. Cochrane sat me down and like, my boy, I see, Dr. Cochrane taught my uncle. It's like, I taught your uncle back in P.
He was not moving like that.
No, he's like, I know him. He was also in politics, but it didn't end well for him. He repeated a year or something.
Okay.
Like, I don't want you to repeat a year. This is not UP. This is not VEDS. This is Medinsa here. And all the comrades, most of them that go that route, they don't finish in 4-year record time. Yeah, they take longer. Or they don't even finish at all.
12 years.
12 years. It's like, now you must make a distinction. It's either you're going to be in politics or you're going to be
in medical school.
Now, remember, I'm used to power. I'm used to influence. And I say, but how can I have the same power in influence, but not in politics? What is the next thing to do?
Business.
It's business. Because you still have the same power, but not in politics. And I said, okay, now. A dramatic change now. Politics aside, I put politics, bye-bye politics. Now, let's get to business. First year, right? Before I sold muffins, because I used to sell muffins, we used to have this muffin company going on in varsity. Those were the best times of our lives, man. I went like, that was good money, man. Yeah, that was good. Fine. Me and Billy, I called him Billy the Billionaire. Yeah, Billy the Billionaire. Yeah. Man, I love that brother of mine, man. Fine. So I come into Kores, right?
Yeah.
When I meet Kores, I meet my comrade. It was Jacob, it was Lerato, it was Jab. Yeah, they're the most popular comrades.
Yeah.
Me, I'm just a nobody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I know I used to be in politics and I used to have power. So proximity to power is equals to power.
Power, yeah.
So let me be close with.
If you know how to use it.
If you know how to use it.
I love that. Yeah. Proximity to power
is equals to power. Yeah. So let me be close to Ama comrades so they can shield me and so that I can get away with
maneuver around.
Now, Billy the Billionaire is a friend of the comrades. Mara, Billy the Billionaire is not a politician. He's into business. Yeah, he's more into, I want business. Billy the Billionaire was selling perfumes by then. Me, I start to be close with him. Like, no, I like your idea. Like, we can work something out. My guy, we used to stay in the place called Drillilis, ne? It's one floor is 15 floors, the other one is 10 floors. Billy is like to me, I see 1 million here and I see another million in this building. It's up to us how many millions we can come out of this. Yeah, now that's a challenge.
This is first year?
This is first year.
Oh, my boy.
Yeah, this is Billy the Billionaire. He's telling me, like, my guy, I see 1 million here and I see another million here. It's up to us how much money we can get out of this.
Did Billy the Billionaire comes from millions home?
No.
Okay.
Billy the Billionaire is that guy who was bullying them, giving them sweets and whatnot back in high school. I'm comparing him to that guy.
Oh, yeah.
So you see, this life cycle repeats itself again. You're trying to adapt, and then you see the loopholes and whatnot. Since the politics now will not work for you because of the same parent that you got at varsity who directed you otherwise, and then now you try to maneuver yourself. In high school, you maneuvered yourself via marks and whatnot. Now here you're trying to maneuver your way up via business. So adapt Or die.
You adapt or you die. So I had to remember at the back of everything. I'm a chess player. Here, as Yakala,
You're a chess
Yeah.
player?
yeah, I'm a go sharp and no.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you don't bring the board, eh?
Nancy challenge.
You should
Here's a
bring-
challenge
yeah.
after this.
yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
strategy here, strategy.
Yeah.
Chief, I can bet.
You know, there's an
Nothing.
episode we shot actually with one of the best chess player here in South Africa. He's presiding over RC Sports
Oh,
here
okay.
in University of the Free State. I think you'll like that episode.
Oh no.
And I can organize a game as well.
Yeah, no, please, man. let's-
Okay, yeah. So you playing chess in your mind, yeah.
Yeah.
Back to Billy the Billionaire.
Yeah.
No.
I see million here.
Yeah.
I see million here.
How are we gonna get the million?
Mm.
Okay, fine. Now remember, I'm in the same room as those guys that are doing politics. They politic the whole day. Those guys, they politic the whole day. The whole day
That's
they
why
are,
I don't like
they are
politics.
politicking those guys. Hey, the police of this, and I'm like, guys, wait.
So Lala sidlelo yonto.
You understand? I'm trying to run away from politics. You guys are bringing me in politics, man. And they ask me, hey man, what's your
Political stance on this.
on this? Because they know that I'm from COSAS. Remember, they know your credentials.
Yeah.
They know
Yeah.
that deep down at the heart of this, you are a politician. You can give them strategy. And I'm just like, hey, comrades, man. Hey, please, man. Hey, me, I want to focus. I want to do business, man. Leave me alone. But they still ask me those things. Fine. Behind the corridors, we are the ones who are obviously plotting and engaging on political issues. Fine. Me and Billionaire take an exercise to say, my guy, we need to identify something we can sell for us to get that 2 million from that. Build.
Let's find a way to
must
abstract
find
that money.
Sharp. The whole day, I did not go to school. I bunked school that day. We go, there's a place called Marawastad in
Yeah, I know it.
No, but-
Downtown.
downtown.
Aye.
We walk. That time we walk, my brother. We want to find out what can we really sell there. We go shop to shop. My brother, the whole day we're in Marawastad, in and out.
Yes, that's
Can we sell perfume? I don't know, but perfume doesn't have money, man.
Hmm.
Can we sell this? Can you sell jewelry? Can we sell t-shirts? Can we print t-shirts? Like, but we're just
trying to get inspiration,
trying to
business
get inspiration.
ideas.
Business ideas. We failed this money, chief. We failed this money. We are hungry, my brother. ne? Eish. And then this lady passes with a tray of muffins. Hey, Muna. You know that idea just then? Bing! Me and him will look at each other. We're like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? And he's like, yeah. And we ask the lady, hey, Muna, how much is this? It says 5 rand. Huh? 5 rand. Huh? A whole tray. How many are these? I think 25. Hey, we start to calculate.
5,
Oh, 25 times 5. Hey, where do you get these things? I know I get them here around the
I love it.
what's this?
Yeah.
I get this by the baker. How much do they sell it? It's 3 rand. Huh? But if you buy in bulk, they can give for 2 rand.
discount.
Hey, Mona.
There's
So if
a
we buy for 2 rand, we sell for
sell
5
for
rand.
5.
We get 3 rand profit. We only just walk here. Fuck, man. Now this is the idea. We buy, I think, 2 trays. Before we get to rest, it's finished. On the way, people are asking, hey, how
Where
much
do you
is this
get
thing?
this? Yeah.
And we're like, this is the business. It was cheap. We found the business. Masab. We get
Yeah.
to rest. When you get to rest, we just
Taking orders.
so at rest, one entrance. So the bus drops us, then you enter via one entrance. Remember, we're sitting literally next to the entrance. One bus comes,
Gone.
gone. Muffins are gone. Hey, but
So cost of them of per muffin was 2 rand
yes,
from the supply.
from the supply.
What's your margin?
It's we're going to sell 5 rand, so we get
Okay.
3 rand.
Okay.
So we say 1 rand is for labor and all that. So we make 2
Logistics.
rand.
Love it. Love it.
Sharp. There was a guy, we called him Legot. I don't know what is his real name, but we called him Legot. Legot was selling muffins there, but he was not as robust
As you were.
as we were. Because it's a new idea we want to exploit. We go and meet with Legot. Hey, Legot, you've been selling muffins here. We want to also be part of you. We call ourselves the muffin guys, the 3 guys. Legot shows us to know, guys, I have a way of making these muffins. You buy a premix and then you mix them, you add your own obvious secret flavor
Yeah.
so that it tastes different.
I see where this is going.
You understand? Me and Billy the Billionaire were like, this thing is not rocket science. There's no need for Legoto to be here. Cause yeah, like
He revealed all his
He revealed his
secrets.
obviously we're using political things. Is there a need for him to?
No.
There's no need.
It's my two.
It's like too much. It's mural Legoto. Legoto, one side.
Jesus.
Now we have this muffin business going on. My guy, that was the best time of my varsity life. I will not lie. We sell muffins and then we start making money, a lot of money, like a lot. Because students, they're hungry, they come back, they want the muffins.
Yeah,
every
that
day.
sweet, that sugar in the muffins.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now I start to look. Now me and Billy the Billionaire are saying, but we can't just sell muffins alone, man. What are these students buying? They're always going to the shop to buy bread, to buy cool drink. So why can't we have a tuck shop inside the residence? We go and approach the owner of the building. Say, man, we want to operate a spaza. He says, no. Hey, you can't. You're like, hey, man, we want to operate a spaza in this building. Now we go. Who do we call our political guys?
Politicians.
Hey, comrades, let's go and marinate this Murena for him to give us the slot to say. The policies of the universities, they were a bit harsh, right? Fine. I'm like, at the end of the day, me and one person, if I want something, I go for it. I start a whole shop in my room. With my mother's stock fair. My mother gave me grocery stock fair, chief.
Bro.
First, this is what's this new term, right?
Yeah. Second semester.
This guy.
Yeah.
My mother gives me grocery, like a stock fair, chief.
Oh my God.
It's me and my cousin at home. Ne? I tell my cousin, man, I'm selling muffins, So when I ask, and until enough for yourself.
Yeah.
We make a size
Stock. We get the stock now. You're piling up this.
We had the macaroni, we had mayonnaise, we had the soup, everything, all ons and everything.
In bulk.
In bulk. In
Stock up your room.
Stock up the room. There used to be this common room where we stay. It's just shadows. I tell the comrade, you're not using this room. I'm going to occupy this room. And if I hear any one of you complaining, you'll have to deal with me and my political people. Don't worry. I know. We don't have a problem. We occupy that room. We take pictures. We post it in the group of we have a spaza shop. You have a spaza shop. This is progressing. Now people start lining up now. We want
sugar.
We have sugar from home.
Baked beans.
Baked beans.
Did you sell the sugar package from the shop or you repackaged it?
No. Anisho.
They come in small sizes, but in...
Oh, it's a bulk.
Maybe it's 1 kg.
1 kg.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
What's this? Tea bag.
Yeah.
Remember the stock firm Rosar? It comes in bulk. Tea bag we're selling. And then now they're like, we don't have bread. Next door there's a makula there. There's a guy called Buyer. I go to Buyer. When you go stock bread, also stock.
Make provision for me, yeah.
I give Buyer the money, delivery there. Now I carry the loaves into my room.
Yeah.
Now it was very embarrassing because my friends are going to school.
Now you are busy.
Me are busy carrying
a tray
of white bread.
Yeah.
So there was a class, I remember, prof class was at 7:45. I always missed that class because I'll take the...
It was clashing with your delivery
schedule. Yeah. So I always take the second bus. I'll arrive late. Every time I always arrive late. With the story and I stay at Rangu where the things is, obviously you find a way to...
There was a strike.
You understand? You find a way to maneuver things. Yeah. Those were the fun days. I want to understand. So now, you have this... Now, okay, those that I went to varsity with, they call me Menzi, right? I never wanted to say Tabukhom because it was going to clash, politics, they teach you a different way of thinking. You understand? So I'm like, I need to have a stage name. And I need to have a real name. So my stage name is Menzi. Everybody knows me as Menzi, but my real name is Tebo. So these lectures are always looking for the Menzi troubled person, but they never find him in the register. In the registers.
So even when they are marking,
they thinking Menzi is just a hooligan, he's not writing. But there's this Tebo who's passing.
Because I hear you. As a teacher, if you have that troubling child, you make sure that you focus on that skill.
So
making their life difficult as much.
Menzi doesn't write classes. Menzi doesn't attend classes.
Maybe this means he just registered and went back home.
And you understand, it's those things. But myself, the Tabo is passing. It's getting passing. Fine. And then, we started. Obviously, now the power is back now. Now it is different kind of power and influence because now you have money. You understand? It's no longer just politics. The political people are close to you. So from the tuck shop, we then started what we call Student Entrepreneurship and Innovations Hub in Medunsa. I was part of the founding members of it.
What's this?
It's a structure.
Okay.
Organization.
Supporting structure?
Supporting
Yeah.
structure, yes. We want to foster entrepreneurship in varsity, in the healthcare sector. The first year of that, the ACIH, we brought Nicolette Mashile. I don't know if you know
I
Nicolette.
know her from
Yeah.
Bushback, right?
Yes, she has this book.
The Money Bunny.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we bring
Financial bunny.
Yes, we
actually.
bring
Yeah.
Nicolette Mashile to the structure to
For
give it.
real?
Yes, man. We were revolutionary, man.
Hey, bro,
The
I'm
politi-
thinking about your contract right now. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So Nicolette Mashile, we bring Nicolette Mashile. Remember Lerato? Lerato, the chairperson of ACIH by then. She was a treasurer, SRC treasurer
Mm.
of the university. Again, one thing about politics, they teach you to think differently. Now you have a budget as a treasurer.
Mm.
You say you have this millions dedicated for support structures. What do? You start a support structure that you can move the money from the budget to a support structure. You understand? So that's how the politics work. You understand? So now
Yeah, no.
we're thinking we have money that we can move around. And remember, at the end of the day, when we come to the sitting table, they always ask me, "Hey, Ramit, what do you think?"
So that supporting structure was also a business move.
Yeah, it was.
Mm.
And it remember, we're not entirely looking for profit, but we're looking for access. For if we can call Nicolette Mashile to give a talk, Nicolette Mashile comes under whose structure? Our structure.
Mm.
I brought together with what again? I forgot her. We brought Lehasa. You know Lehasa from Slimsam?
Yeah.
Cedric. We brought Cedric.
I love him. It's my favorite character on that show.
Yes, we did a networking there with Cedric. There's a poster where it's me, Cedric, and
Your treasure.
I forgot that girl's name, man. Yeah, but yeah. So now, remember, you have this influence now.
Mm.
Now, they say Menzi brought Lehasa to rest.
Mm.
Now, Lehasa came there to give a speech, and he's working with me.
Mm.
Yeah, now you know.
Again, that association
That association
to power,
to power.
makes you more powerful.
It makes you more powerful, right? Now we go to NIDA. Now there's a center there at Medunsa. We were the ones who made the presentation, and we got 5 million into the university for that center to start.
Sure.
It's there, it's existing now. I understand. So I remember we went to Mpumalanga. I was part of the people that discussed that whole model. Because the guy asked us, how are you going to make money if we fund you? And I gave them, say, we are the heart.
Mm.
And the job of the heart is to pump blood.
Hmm.
So now you have these amazing students who are smart. Your doctors, they're very smart, but they don't have an entrepreneurial spirit in them. So now if you fund this entrepreneurial hub, we're able to capture the minds of those people to try and give us better ideas. Because like, we're going with this guys.
Mhm.
Fine.
Still using that entrepreneurial business hub.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, 5 million is pumped into the university to build this hub. To come it to make it alive.
Mm.
We went through the whole process. It's there, it's existing.
Mm.
Now we go back to VC and say, VC, fellow, we brought 5 million into your school. Oh, what are we getting? You understand?
Mm.
Makes
Vice Chancellor, right?
Yeah, Vice
Mm.
Chancellor. He makes a funny deal. He's like, bro, when the center is up, we're going to employ you. Of which it never happened because he changed.
Mm.
He moved.
Yeah,
he was
his
moved.
term.
His term finished. But I think maybe if he was still there, maybe I would be chairperson of that structure or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah. So that was. And remember now, with the political whatever, you have access to VC. That time I'm
Yeah.
still running. Remember, I'm chairperson of the athletics marathon whatever. I'll go to Mauthausen. We hold in Mauthausen. Chris de Beer. I'll go to Chris de Beer. We have a race in Cape Town. We want to go to Cape Town. I say, hi, I know. Tabuko, it's you. Okay. How much is the? Okay, maybe it's 60,000. Pay 60,000 and go to Cape Town. So the whole movement of politics and influence
Business and
gave me a way, or rather a link to know. But if I want to speak to, the owner or whatever, let me go to the top guy. And obviously with the experience, when you get into your room, you speak the language. You say, hi, Brian, we're here to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. But then that was it. And then another dramatic thing happened. Oh, that was a dramatic thing. Sharp. We go with the structure, right, of ACIH. We motivate for student entrepreneurs to have existing business within the residence. Remember that tuck shop idea was killed by the policy. Now we go with the structure to change the policy. To say students should have the rights to
Make extra income business inside the res because they spend most of their time here.
The policy goes. It's approved. Right? And then me and my comrades, we plan to bring a trailer.
A mobile trailer.
A food trailer. How? But then I remember the guy who was there was Mr. Mampani. Mr. Mampani then, I don't know, he used that rule to bring his people into the...
there's always someone who has an agenda, of course.
How? Me, when I come back from residence, my comrades are congratulating me, Chief, you are progressive. I'm like, what do you mean you're progressive?
What have I done?
What have I done? What him, man? But that trailer you spoke about is here. I'm like, hey, which trailer now? What trailer? No, it's not my trailer. What is yours? It's not mine.
The same thing you did with that muffin guy was done to you now.
Yes.
Oh, now we go there, we ask this lady, hey, man, who are you? What is this trailer for? Oh, no, me, I don't know anything. I'm like, comrade, it's fine. We're closing this residence down. Politics, again, they teach you a way of thinking. What do? We lower the Wi-Fi. We do the whole building up. We switch off the Wi-Fi. We frustrate. We change the water, whatever. We frustrate the students. We lock the entrance for the buses. We frustrate the students. Students get frustrated. Nothing is happening in hostel. In the
res.
Yeah, it's exam time.
You push your agenda.
We push our agenda. Now, Mauthausen is like, no ways, man. There's something here. Mauthausen, VC. Remember, it's VC, understand? Students can't just start a strike. There's something here. Mauthausen says to the rest manager, says, can I see the cameras? It's like, these familiar faces. He sees us, okay, these are the guys that are busy with the strikes. Like, can you call these guys into this room? And then we'll talk with them. Because now the students are striking for the right reasons. Because the Wi-Fi is really down. Water is really down. They are relevant for striking. But till now we know good.
You have your hidden agenda.
We want Mauthausen to come here so that we can discuss with Mauthausen. Mauthausen comes, we tell him, Mauthausen, we need the trailer gone. We need our trailer here. And then it's like, okay, the trailer will be gone. Fine. The next morning, trailer is gone. Mampani suspended because of now. We
conflict of interest.
Because of why did you bring the trailer? We found out it was Mampani. Mampani suspended. And then, but by that time, I'm moving towards my fourth year. You understand now?
Academics needs your attention.
And I say, I have to make the sacrifice again. Do you need the money, the fame? Or you need the
academics?
And I said, let me just give at least 1 year of just proper study without any
interference.
And I did one. I actually even got an award, best in ICU. Also, it was a surprise to me when I got that. I was never expecting it, but at least it gave me something. So yeah,
it's a lot of information that you dropped there, and there are a lot of things that I would want us to interrogate. Speecho Makaveli. I don't know if we can stop with the story, with your story right here, and we sort of interrogate this information. I want us to touch on the importance of relationships. I see that a lot in your story. You keep mentioning all these people, Mauthausen, the billionaire. You keep, the guy Leroto. You keep mentioning these people, right?
Yes.
And as a person that's also in business, I understand the significance of this segment for the podcast. And then I want us to talk about the power itself. I want us to interrogate the power itself. And then I also want us to talk about networking. You can tie it up together with relationships. And politics as well. Like politics, I want us to talk about them on a global or national scale.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I don't know if you want to start there.
Yeah. Listening to his story and things like that, he has always had a goal on the power of association and networking and things like that. So as a young person out there who's listening to this podcast and things like that, it is very important. What I take out from this is that your energy should...
Can I get you a toilet roll?
Yes, please, yes.
So you can continue. Don't worry about it.
Okay. What I've picked is that you are always focused and determined. How am I going to use this proximity to power to the next level. So how would you also advise like someone now who's maybe an SRC president on how to use those positions? Yeah. And another thing when I'm Steven, being as a young person being mentored, it's not easy like to mentor someone else, and then it's not easy again to be a mentee because someone might not relay the message correctly. Guti, how do I want to mentor you, or what will you get out of this mentorship? Back to when you ask him about that teacher who told him you are not that smart. Yeah, you are smart. So to a young person, you will get those challenges whereby someone sees that spark in you. Some people will come with bad intentions of just dimming your light and making sure that you are dead and out. And some people will dim your light just to put in a floodlight instead of that torch nyana you had before. Yeah. So what's your advice to someone young based on these networks and connection and proximity to power?
Okay, so I think everything goes back to what you really want, the goals that you set for yourself. So a lot of us, you want to be the greatest of the greatest, but you're not ready for the great within yourself.
Okay.
You understand? So you want money, but you're not ready for money.
Mm.
You understand?
Yeah.
So you want power, but you're not ready for power. Now, if you get power, what do you do with the power?
Yeah. And that is dangerous, ne?
Yeah, it's a very dangerous place to be. Because I think one of my mentors one time asked me some very out of cage, was like, fine, if I was to give you $1 million now, what are you gonna do with it?
Great question.
If I was to give you
Now.
Great question.
what are you gonna do with it? Hey, and I start to realize, hey, I don't have a plan, man. Yeah, like I want it, but I don't have. Okay, I will take 40,000. No, I don't have
nothing. Yeah.
So then he's like to me, you see, that's where everything starts here.
I love that.
So you can't say you want millions without you knowing what you're exactly going to do with those millions. So same thing with someone young or something. Maybe you wanted proximity to power or the connections. Ask yourself, what am I going to do with those connections? What exactly am I going to do with it? Why do I need the connection, number one? What am I going to do with the connection? Then that's where you can see, okay, should I get this connection? You think deeper than the
actual connection itself.
Connection.
Yeah.
So that because now I'm here, I need to, this is me, I need to get influence and power, but not through politics, but through business. What do I need? I need connections for me to get known so that I can be able to sell this and this of mine. Understand? So there's always a plan to say, I need this so that I can do this. So maybe to a young person, you always ask, why do you need that power? For what? So that it creates a what is this? A map.
A map.
A map.
Yeah.
To say, should I get the power? Then I'll use this. Then I'll use. Because a lot of us, we get into rooms with powerful people. We get into rooms with influential people. But what do we do with that?
And we end up not even asking the right questions, actually.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even recognize it that it's power.
Exactly.
What book did you read? Maybe that shaped how you deal with power. I mean, I'm also aware that you are a reader, right? Is there any book that you read that you read which shape how you see power? Because in these stories, Makaveli, like we see the obsession of power.
Yeah,
and that fascinates me, and I like your honesty on it. That it's always been power. How do I get powerful in this space?
Yeah. So obviously I read a lot of books in my journey, but obviously I read the 48 Laws of Power.
Amazing.
Yeah. That for me was
Robert Greene.
I would have actually have thought, I would have guessed the same book. Yeah.
That gave me an understanding of what power is. But I also read another book called My Story Brand.
What do you pick up from these books?
So these books, they in a way they change the mindset. They put your mindset in a different sphere, right? Because of now with the my story brand, it's how this guy uses the personal story to build up his brand. of which is what I did exactly when I started a Men's brand. I have a Men's brand.
Mm.
So I took the principles of that, my story brand into life. You understand? And then for me, that was the thing. And I also read, there's a lot of books I read about psychology, influence, and there's quite a lot of books. But the one book that I can say that really make me understand power is the 48 Laws of Power.
Great book, by the way.
Yeah, you can just throw them around so that people can also be
So,
plugged on those
okay,
books.
so
yeah.
my story
The ones
brand-
that you can remember
Yeah.
on top
my,
of your head.
my story brand,
Who's the author of My Story Brand? You forgot. It will show there when
obviously,
they
I read the
search.
DJ's Boo book. Obviously, Billy loved that book, the DJ's Boo book.
Which one?
What was it?
So there's a Billionaire Under Construction.
Billionaire Under Construction.
There's plenty of them. There's a new one.
Selling. You read the Billionaire Under Construction?
Yeah. Billionaire Under Construction. And then I also read my 5-minute MBA.
Love
Okay.
it. I love that book.
I haven't read it.
Yeah, it's a very short, simple book.
So it's the one that really formalized, or rather made my business easy. And then I also read, guys, I should look to my
Okay.
book closet, but they will come as
as you go.
Yeah.
So you said something interesting about like politics affect how you think.
Yes.
But it is apparent that you used most of your political power at school for your own benefits, right? Like where you start this shop. I guess you were the one, you and your friend, that were profiting from this shop. How do you feel about politics today in this country? What do you think? There's a game what's the game that's being played that maybe we are not aware of? And for us to make peace with the state of the country, what we should understand from a political point of view.
Okay, so I'll take you through.
Great question, by the way.
It's a very fascinating question, right? Fine, right? There's a political will to do something which is good, to change, to make the lives. For example, I'll go back to my story. The political will was we need the students' safety, because students couldn't go out at night to go buy bread. That's the political will, to say students need to be safe. But with the political will comes there, what do they say? There's a word, I'm trying to think of it. Capitalist mind to it. I also read capitalist book. What is it?
The Capitalist Nigger.
The Capitalist Nigger.
Yeah.
Right? So now, there's a will, there's a capitalist. Now, what is a capitalist mind saying?
How am I going to benefit out of this?
How am I going to benefit out of this?
And how is everyone going to
How
benefit
also
out of
everyone
this?
is going to benefit from it. So same thing with the current politics that are here, whether national level, international level. It's always about the capitalist there
Interest.
and the will.
Polit-
You look at the war in Iran or the US and stuff like that. We might be looking at it, Trump is just another guy. But the real thing is that they're fighting for oil there.
Mm.
And
they are trying to save the dollar from being wiped out.
You understand? That is, he's trying to, or in my view, he's trying to, keep the power that he has, or the power that America has. But what do? You have campaigns. This is just a campaign. Just like with political campaigns.
Yeah.
If they want the votes, they start a political campaign. So unfortunately, at some point with the political games, there will be lives lost. There will be so many
casualties will always be there. Yeah.
But it's the nature of it. So same thing with our politics here in the country. Right? There is a political will. But at the end of the political will, there's a capitalist behind. Because how I got to be so influential in the politics is very simple. Whenever there's a strike, ask yourself this question.
Who's benefiting from that?
Besides the benefiting, do students have enough money to buy the tires? The whole truck tire.
Okay, I don't understand.
Right.
To ban.
Listen.
Those tires that are being banned on the street.
Right? Who brought that tire?
Logistics.
Do students have a car to bring that tire there to the campus?
What's your point?
There's a capitalist to supply.
The point that I'm trying to say is that there is a political will to fight for this. But the act of the whole strike, right? Who gave you money to buy? Do you know how much a tire, that big tire is? Even if it's second hand,
Yeah.
you know how much? Let's just say it's 800. Who has 800 to bend the whole day or the whole week?
Every day.
Every day they're bending tires. Where did they get those
Bending
tires from?
800.
Where did they get the tires from?
It makes sense what you're saying. I had what's this university that was closed in the Eastern Cape?
Forte.
Forte. Was it Forte?
Yeah, I think it was.
It was on the news and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it when I asked, so there's a friend of mine who's who was actually a lecturer. So when I asked him, he's like, bro, it has nothing to do with students.
Thank
Because
you.
it's actually politics.
Mm.
So it makes sense what you.
Yes. So remember, like I said, there's a political will, 100%, yes, to change something, to be for the good. There's a
For the
political
display in the media and the propaganda and
will.
whatnot.
But behind,
Mm.
there is a capital mind to say, but how am I going to benefit from this? Because you find that you are fighting for maybe access to water or NSFAS, whatever. But that's the will, right? But me as a service provider, I know good NSFAS is going to subcontract me to distribute the money. So what do? I fund the whole strike. The will is to students to have
I
money.
see.
But me as a capitalist to say they have to subcontract me to distribute the money.
You scratch my back, I scratch your back.
Bro, that's so interesting. And it sparked another conversation as well, which is a question I had. The switch between like the political realm into business. Because I would you let me know based on your philosophical view here. Do you think they operate with different rules? Because from where I'm standing, I would look at politics as like politicians as mostly like takers and influencers, and business people as like the servants and the empathetic or sympathetic
I
of the
think
business of the community.
looking at our time and our guest is they have to go somewhere. I think we should park that question for part 2. I think we'll have a part 2.
Yeah, but just to
yeah.
answer you, it's actually vice versa, by the way.
Oh yeah.
It's actually vice versa.
Mm.
Because of a businessman, what business does a businessman have to do with sympathy and being seen as a liker of people?
People.
Have you seen a businessman campaigning, canvassing?
No, campaigning would be marketing, don't you think?
But I'm just saying, who promises the people that they're going to build bridges, for them
Bridges,
and
hospitals, and schools? Politicians.
It's politicians,
Not business
not
people.
business people.
But who's actually building?
But who's building those schools?
So was it easy for you to switch from being a politician into a business person?
100%. So again, like I said, politics teach you a different way of thinking, right? Now, when you bring political principles into business, it's a soup. You understand? It's a smooth transition. It's just like you just read this book, take this, and you move. Yeah, because at the end of the day, now, if, for example, my other business, Advanced Life and Medical, we do, employee health and wellness, blah, blah, blah. Now, if I have to go to an institution and maybe approach or rather
presentation,
present
make
my
a
business, the political information or the political knowledge says to you, you don't go there and speak with so and so. You wanna go and speak with the MEC. You wanna go speak with the general, the DD, so that
Director General.
they outline the whole program to the whole institution. Now, when you go speak with the DD and say, DD, I have a proposal for your institution. We want to do this for your institution. DD signs a directive to say, we're going to do this, allow this company to come. Boom. That's the way politics come in. But as a normal person who doesn't have the political understanding, will go there and knock the door to
irrelevant people,
people.
for lack of a better word.
For lack of a better word. And then it takes time.
That's where the influence comes in.
You understand? But if you understand the political landscape, you are able, or you are most likely to go to get the right thing. If you look into, I always tell them the retired comrades. Retired comrades, right? They're actually doing well in life because of now they understood
Mm,
You know,
connections.
the connections,
Mm.
and they use those connections to themselves. You find that
Mm.
someone he used to be a political or whatever. Now, but he has a mining
Business.
company. He
Mm.
has a student accommodation. How comrade Kanjani?
That's true. I actually have a client of mine who was something here in
Mm.
Free State. He now does business.
You understand? So those two things are interlinked. Unfortunately, you need politics for business, and you need business
It's
for politics.
Mm.
And it's just that way it is now.
Interchangeable.
Interchangeable. If now we were to give vaccines and say there's a disease for example, foot and mouth, whatever is happening now.
Mm.
So who do you think delivers those foot and mouth vaccines to the farmers?
I see.
You see, there's
Yeah.
someone who's going to get that contract to deliver those
Mm.
those foot and mouth. But you see, the will is what? To contain the disease. That is the political way.
But apparently, Bill Gates take it to the next level. They even create the virus
Yeah.
while they know they have the vaccine.
You see,
Crazy.
it's crazy. So-
And for their same products. The computers, when they came out, they didn't have viruses.
Mhm.
And then when they were phased in and everyone was using a computer, my computer is crashing, it has a virus.
Mm.
Who's also going to supply that antivirus for that Microsoft 8? The same
The same.
person who produced it. And there's also a conspiracy theory around the COVID as well. But that's a story for another day regarding
Right.
these viruses and antiviruses. So it creates a problem while we have a solution for it. And my good brother here has done that at the campus level.
Yeah.
But now we are adults, eh?
Yes.
What problems are we solving?
Okay. As adults, man, there's a huge problems of unemployment, which is a crisis in our country. I think someone said it, Uguti, it's a time ticking bomb, right? The time it bursts, it's going to be a problem. You saw what happened with the July 21, where people just went into stores and
Yeah, the
stole
July
and-
unrest in
and all
KZN.
of those things.
Yeah.
It is going to lead to a point where a great amount of us who are unemployed, we are sick and tired of the status quo. And we just wake up and say, you know what? We're just going to go to those offices and occupy those offices. Same thing with the June 16 unrest. So they were tired of something.
Mm,
They were tired of something.
yeah.
You
And
know,
their voices were not being heard.
Their voices were not being heard. So there will become a time where we're tired of unemployment. We're tired of poverty. We're just tired of just being not heard. And then there will be, I think maybe there will be another uprising
Yeah.
coming soon. And the uprising will be, obviously we're fighting for economic chance. We're fighting for
Equal opportunities.
equal opportunities. Yeah. So I think
That people have been promised.
yes.
Mm.
Yeah, so that is proven, yeah.
And again, there will be someone who will benefit out of that uprising and unrest.
No, thank you so much, Tebsa, because of times speech was bringing into our honest. No, thank you. Really enjoyed this. However, I feel like we still have more to dive into. Maybe when you are in the Free State or Bloemfontein again, we can have a conversation about the part 2. My closing question, what's the advice you have for
Before my brother, before that closing final question, have we done justice to this? Or we'll talk about it
now
on part 2.
What do you mean?
Your
justice?
business or
I don't think we did.
I also feel we didn't.
No, we didn't speak much
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
But we're just gonna give details after your remarks, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
wanna ask this closing question.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna give details of the business, what you do, just after his remark. What's the advice you have for graduates? And maybe I want to say graduates specifically who are sitting at home, struggling to find a job. Others are still searching. Others have given up.
Given up.
So what advice do you have? Because I like the business you are in, which is what you're gonna tell us. It's like you graduated and then you employed yourself in a sense. But I don't know from what angle of privilege did you manage to do that. But the question I have in short, or maybe the statement I have, what advice do you have for graduates who are hopeless sitting at home there, who were promised that education is the key to success?
Okay. Every year, started the year before, I give a lecture at the university where I'm from. And I always title it, The Government of South Africa Owes Nobody a Job. That's the title of the lecture that I always give. And it's a very uncomfortable statement. But if you take the uncomfortability out of it, you are able to then think differently. Because remember, if you are graduating in a professional sense, you graduate to be an engineer. You don't need a big engineering company to spark that you're an engineer. At the end of the day, you are an engineer. You don't need PRASA to remind you that you're an engineer. You understand?
Yeah, you don't need the city of
You don't need the city of
Joburg.
Joburg. Although the city of Joburg will,
Be a catalyst to your profession.
So with this lecture that I always give out, I tell them to say, you need to get out of that mindset that you are entitled for a job. You are entitled to go and work. You understand? You need to get that out of your mind. Why? Because there are some professions you go in those professions not knowing where you're going to work after, but they still make it. In my space, there's a profession called, I think, dental therapist or oral hygienist. I'm sorry, I stand to be corrected. They don't have what we call ComServe, community service. They don't have a community service.
So after graduation, they fend for themselves.
Yes, you're on your own. Go find whatever. And they still make it. So when it comes back home to us, we have ComServe. Same with doctors. They have ComServe. They have all of these.
Occupational therapy.
They have ComServe. So, it's very sensitive to say to them, but you have a leverage. You have 1 year where you are being paid. That 1 year.
A runway.
That 1 year can change your life. And this is what I give to the lecture every year. I'm like, for example, you were surviving on NSFAS, which was 1,500. Now you're getting 20,000 a year, a month.
Tax free
for a year. And next year you want to come back with the placards and say the government was unfair on us. While we had 100 and you have potential to have more than 100 and something thousand, which was a good startup. Because in the lecture I explored to say you can start some things. You can build a room at home, accommodation, all of those things. But obviously backgrounds are fun. Sometimes someone has to plant back home. But at the end of the day, you still have you at the end of the day to, how can I say this? You can't fill from an empty card. As much as you have the background, but sometimes, because in the lecture, unfortunately, in the lecture, I go to the deep to say, you don't even have to tell them how much you earn. Lie.
Yeah.
To tell them you earn 15,000.
Yeah.
Well, you're earning 20 something. Because if you tell them you have 30,000, now the expectation even go higher.
Yeah, higher.
But if you say I have 15,000, they're only going to ask you up to a limit of 15,000. Then the rest is for you to always keep pouring into the family. You understand? So it's just those. But someone who's sitting home, who's a graduate, I'd say, it's always good to not give up. Go out there, volunteer if you have to, but you don't need PRASA to remind you that you're an engineer. You don't need, certain things to remind you that you are this kind of a profession. Within your studies, you can find something you can go volunteer for, just for you that someone might see you, and also let's turn our entrepreneurial spirit into this, because at the end of the day, should there not be jobs, we are forced to make the jobs, unfortunately.
I love that. Okay, thank you so much. Any last remarks, Peter?
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot, my brother, for coming through. I still feel part 2. I need part 2. There's a lot of things. Even the way government operates. Government is not here to create jobs. Government is here to monitor or create systems that are beneficial to the people that they are serving. You see, government, its main mandate is to make systems that are livable, are conducive for their people. Most of the people, they would know our previous government created systems that favored a certain number of people. Those systems were so beneficial to those people. They are still uploading them even now. So now the transition after 1994 is this government creating those systems for our people. There are a lot of beneficiaries. Our government, there are a lot of good things that they've done. They are still doing now. But our issue now is this entitlement thing. And there are a lot of things that they've missed on government implementing them and things like that. We all know our institution, our constitution is the best on paper, but when it comes to implementation, it's a different story. So government is, that's my take on government and government institutions, to lay to create systems that will benefit the majority. And then that same systems, then the majority must also keep the government in check, and the government must also keep the people in check. So this issue of entitlement, you see a 40-year-old energetic guy demanding an RDP house. Now, energy, we are able to, you see, the way that system was introduced to us, it killed us mentally. And some of us are not coming from backgrounds whereby you had to get paid for whatever task that you had done. So if we can just change our mindsets, and things can change, and understand the system by sebenza kanjani, how does this system work? My brother has tied them nicely, business and politics. This one create these systems, and this one close that gap on that system, and life goes on. And that gap again, after 5 years, when there's canvassing and whatnot, who prints those? It's a loop. Yeah. They close that loop. Who prints those t-shirt that fills the stadium? The same people who were getting the jobs. But if you don't understand how these things work, and it goes a long way in different spheres. In art, they would perform on stages. If those artists are clever enough, they would know who to associate to, how to get that gig. You see. And now there's a lot of things that are happening. We hear on the Madlanga Commission and things like that. We all see now how this money is being cleaned and whatnot and whatnot. You just need to be aware as a young person with how do I position myself. So our guest has positioned himself so smoothly and well, maneuvering and withdrawing where he sees that, hey, this won't yield the results that I'm looking for, and this move will yield this result. And by the way, out of all this journey that he's been narrating to us, I see a good heart out of him. But okay, out of this move, majority will benefit. I'm cutting them this struggle by replacing this solution to it. So if everyone, even in that volunteerism that the graduate is doing, solve a problem, you will be remunerated at the end of the day. Yeah. So yeah, if you want services, is Pratibza, Dr. Tebu Khoramits. Only in South Africa they are not being called doctors. Yeah. You have your business card here, my brother. Sell it yourself. I don't want to do injustice to it.
So just two closing remarks. Obviously, sitting down here talking, it sounds all rosy and easy. Maybe to someone who's watching, but that's not how it is. The nature of it is not all rosy and easy. You understand? You might say it, we are laughing, but it's not exactly how that easy. We just wake up, politics, not everything's figured. No, gaining just like any other person that struggles. There are months where we don't even know how we wanna pay our people. So someone who's sitting there, don't think, or rather get out of the idea that things are easy. Anything that comes to you easy, it's gonna go easy.
Yeah.
That's the only way. And if you look at those old businessmen, they've struggled. They don't just wake up. No, he struggled. You'll hear for years and years the business was slow, but the perseverance, the guy kept on going. So the idea is, I always say, the idea is not to win the war, but is to never give up and never give in. So every day you must fight. Every day you must wake up and fight. How difficult it is, we have to fight. You understand? One of my lectures used to say that the day that you are born, just know that you are fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from the very same day you are born, you are fighting
The
viruses,
fight is
you are
on.
fighting COVID, you are fighting all these things. So if you, whenever you want an easy life that you're not fighting something, then you have it all wrong. You understand? So I think maybe to just young people out there. Also, I think our people, our young people, we need to also think outside the box, man, and always, never put limitations into our head. Because we're so comfortable, we're so soft, man. Everything is, you want things to be easy to you. You want to be given this, you want to be given that. That's a mentality that's going to set you for failure. But if you wake up and say, nobody owes me anything, whatever it is that I owe myself, it's me and me and me. Then you are able to, even when you are down, you say, but hey, I owe myself this life. You get up.
Yeah.
You get
yeah.
up. You get up. Then in that way, at least you are able to push. But anyway, let me promote my businesses
Please
if I'm
do.
allowed.
Yeah, please
Yes.
go crazy.
One, I run a physiotherapy practice. We are based in 11 Nelson Mandela Drive. That's in Bloemfontein.
Mhm.
And then we do back pain management. We do stroke rehabilitation. We do if you want, like you're struggling with movement in your body, you're fatigued, you are tired, we do that. And then obviously if you have medical aid, we use medical aid. I'm a private practitioner, so I'm able to, you're able to consult with me with your medical aid. However, if it's cash, our sessions is 450 a session, and then from there we'll take it how many sessions you need. That's the physiotherapy business that I'm running. And then obviously we also do home visits. So if there's someone at home who's struggling with stroke, someone who has a back pain, someone that is struggling with arthritis, someone who's struggling with amatolo, the knees, the shoulders, any body pain in your body, we are able to assist you because of, remember, we're independent practitioners, we're able to diagnose, treat, and manage the condition. And then on the other side, I run a very beautiful company. I call it the flagship company. It's advanced.
How do people contact the first one?
Oh, the first
Yeah,
one. Okay.
If they want to maybe see more about it or come for consultation, how do they contact you?
Oh, our number is 066 046 4426.
Mhm.
And then we're also on TikTok called Rametse Physio,
Mhm.
RAMETSE Physio. And then, yeah, I think those are our channels for,
Alright.
for
Yeah.
that.
Okay, you were saying the other business?
Oh, the other business is the flagship business. I call it the flagship business. Very passionate about it. We are Advanced Life and Medical. So we are a health and wellness company who are specializing in employee health and wellness. So we have these employee health and wellness programs that we run. So basically we work with corporates. So, you spend 60 to 80% of your time at work. You never get the time to go to a doctor, go to a physio, go to anyone. You end up not taking care of your health, of which is something that you should be taking care of. So we are here to solve that. So what we do, we bring health screenings to your workplace, and then we bring an array of doctors, specialists, whatever, and go along with the health calendar of the year. So like last month, we were celebrating Cancer Month. We're doing cancer awarenesses. There will be Diabetes Day, there will be World Autism Day, and all of those things. So for that one, if you're in a workplace and then you want us to come to your workplace, you can maybe connect us with your manager or your HR people, because remember, this needs them to. We can't come to a workplace without HR knowing, because we want to decrease the productivity of the day. So also on that one, if you want to reach us, our website is www.advancedlifeandmedical.co.za. All our details are there nationwide. So any part of the country we're able to cover. But our number is 061 535 8011.
Okay, I'll make sure that I put the link of the website right on the description.
Cool stuff.
So yeah, thank you so much, and that's it from us.
Yeah.
You good? We good?
We're good. 100%.
Simnandi.
Thank you for watching up to this point. Please don't forget to subscribe until we see you again. It's all love from us, and take care of yourself.
Asivale.
All right, asivale.
Siyokwenza imali
Cheers, Mhlobo.
and be healthy.